Hello, my name is Ever McKinney and I am an information assistant with John Marshall Library. I hope everyone out there is having a great FCPL Comic Con week. If you are anything like me, you probably enjoy making your own costumes and accessories for events like this, which is why I am recording this tutorial for your very own scale mail bracelet. I've been making chainmail and scale mail items for almost 10 years now, and it's one of my favorite things to do. You can see on the left the scale mail top I made for myself to wear at the Ren Fair a few years ago. And on the right, this black scale mail collar I did for another event. And on the far left, there's a mask, a tank mask that I made during the pandemic. Unfortunately, we won't get into projects like this today, but I will get you started on one of these cool bracelets, which, who knows, might spark your interest in doing more scale mail. You can pick up this bracelet as a kit during the week of May 3rd through May 8th if you've registered for the event. And now I will walk you through what's in your kit and show you some tools that you'll have to provide on your own, and then I will guide you through building your own bracelet step by step. Now I'd like to show you what's in your kit. You will find a little pile of jump rings to work with. For those of you who like measurements, these rings measure 18 gauge in thickness and 3/16 of an inch on the inside. Gauge is how we measure the thickness of the wire, and you can use handy little tools like this one to verify your measurements. Gauge and diameter are very important to creating chainmail and scale mail. Because these rings have to interlock in a certain way, you'll want to make sure your measurements are precise, because you can run into problems with the wire being too thick or rings being too small and so on. This will not be a problem today because everything is already measured out for you. You will also find 25 red aluminum scales. I chose red for this kit because May is also Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and red is considered an auspicious color in some Asian cultures. You'll notice that the hole in these scales also measures 3/16 of an inch in diameter, like the jump rings over here. And you also have one silver clasp that you can use to hook your bracelet together. Now I'd like to show you what you'll have to provide on your own. These pliers are tools that are unfortunately not part of this kit, so you will have to supply this part on your own. If you are interested in acquiring your own pliers, you can find them at lots of commercial craft stores, including Michael's and Joann Fabrics, or you can also find them online. Your pliers are a very important part of this process. Many people use 2 sets of needle nose or chain nose pliers, and you can see that these almost come up to a point. I prefer to work with 1 set of the chain nose pliers and 1 set of flat nose pliers because I like the grip of the flat nose. You can see that these are much wider than the chain nose pliers here. As you learn to make your own projects, you'll find that you also have your own preferences. Now let's get started on your bracelet. First things first, you'll want to have a number of jump rings already open and ready to use. In case this is your first time, I will show you how to properly open a jump ring. So pick up your jump ring with 1 set of pliers and make sure you can see the gap where the rings join together here. So with the other set of pliers, gently grasp 1 side of the ring and push it open to the side. It is very important that you do not pull the rings apart like this, because they are very, very hard to get back into shape after that. See, this one's pretty much ruined. Always open your rings from side to side, like you're opening it on a hinge. To close it, we'll just reverse the direction you took to open the ring, and that will give you a flush closing. So we have an open ring, and then we'll twist back. we're closed. Go ahead and take the time now to open most, if not all, of the jump rings in your kit. This is great practice if you've never done this before, and it also helps you once you get into the rhythm of your project. You don't want to stop in the middle of the project and open 20 more rings because they're not all open. And please remember to open your rings from side to side. Never pull your rings apart. Now let's find your hook clasp. Now that you have some open jump rings to work with, we'll take one of these rings and hook it to the bottom of your clasp, like so. And then you'll pick up a scale and hook it onto that jump ring. And then we'll close that ring like so. So you have a clasp, a jump ring, and a scale in this order. And your clasp will also act as kind of an anchor for you. An anchor is always good to have for scale mail because it helps you keep track of your starting point. Now, if you haven't already, go ahead and turn your project over so that the concave or the hollow side of the scale is facing you and the ridged side is facing away from you. And we're going to lay a second scale inside the first scale, hollow side up. And we're going to join them with 2 rings. So one on the side here. And close that. And then a second ring on the other side. We'll close that one. Okay, so you should have a clasp, a single ring, your first scale, and then your second scale resting inside your first scale, connected by 2 rings. So keeping your project flip over so the concave sides are facing you, we're going to place a third scale onto that second scale. You will now connect the second and third scales together with 1 ring on one side and a second ring on the other side. So now you've noticed that we have a layering effect going on. You have your clasp, you have 1 ring here, your first scale, which is connected to your second scale by 2 rings on either side, and then your third scale connected to your second scale by 2 rings on either side. I'll show you one more scale, which will be number 4. So you're going to lay your 4th scale inside your 3rd scale, like so. And you'll connect scales 3 and 4 with 1 ring on one side. And then a second ring on the other side. All right. So to review, we have 1 clasp, 1 ring connecting your first scale to your clasp, 2 rings that connect your second scale to your first scale, 2 more rings that connect your 3rd scale to your second scale, and 2 more rings that connect your 4th scale to your 3rd scale. So you're essentially adding scales to the previous scale attached to your bracelet. If you're getting the hang of the pattern now, you can go ahead and finish connecting the rest of your scales. And please feel free to stop and rewind this video if you need to look at the other steps again. Otherwise, the next step will be finishing off your bracelet. So now we are at the end of our 25 scales, and you'll notice that you'll have some leftover jump rings in your kit. If your wrist is larger than the 25 scales, like mine is, you can use these leftover rings to make a basic chain for the rest of your bracelet. I believe the remaining rings will give you a couple extra inches at least. So now, let's keep your project flipped over and pay attention to these last two rings that you've added at the bottom. I'm going to add one open ring to this ring on the left. And we'll close that. And then I'm going to add another ring to the ring on the right. And we'll close that. So now you have these two rings kind of sticking out at the bottom of your project. And we're going to connect those two rings with one more open jump ring. So we'll connect them both together and close that ring. Alright, so you have those two rings connected to either side there and one ring connecting them together. And from here, you can just keep adding rings like so until you come to a measurement that's going to fit your wrist. So I'm starting to get a very basic chain effect now with the added rings here. You can stop adding rings once you are satisfied with the length, and then you can use your last ring as part of your clasp to hook your bracelet together. And then you are all set. All right, I am now out of time, but please feel free to rewind and rewatch this video to continue with your project. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this and you get a little inspiration for your future cosplay projects. You can find other Fairfax County Library Comic Con events and videos on our website from May 3rd through May 8th. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you there.